You're going to go from Wentz, Hurts, to a rookie quarterback? You won't be relevant for that means you would not have been relevant since 17.
Yep.
5 years.
Right.
Why would he do that? Welcome back to the middle. Dan Sileo in for Harry Mays, Barrett Brooks, hour number 2. As you can see, Barrett, I took a pay cut when I went to the NFL.
Right.
I had a good time in college, man, and it was.
I couldn't imagine being in Miami, man. I couldn't.
Oh,
I couldn't.
It was hard work.
Right.
Okay, I'll tell you this: we worked hard and we played hard.
Yep.
And those guys that I played with, man, like I said, it was like different. I mean, all these like 30 for 30s that they've made on us and what we did down there and what we accomplished down there. I look at Alabama today and I go, yeah, okay. But do you understand that? Check it out. Look at all the Hall of Famers that we have put in the University of Miami in the last, 20 years. From Kelly to Irvin to Cortez to Sapp to Reed to Lewis. I mean, now we got Reggie Wayne up. We got Andre Johnson up. We got Devin Hester up. Big Vince will probably get an opportunity. Calais Campbell may get an opportunity one day. I mean, it was really a special time in recruiting. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like that again. I love what Mario Cristobal is doing down there. And by the way, one thing Mario's great at, and this kind of goes down the line here a little bit with Howie Roseman, Mario goes after and gets great offensive linemen. He really knows how to recruit them. Why do you think that – would you agree, I would say, that has been really probably the strength of Howie Roseman's evaluating? Because I'm looking at now the combines here, and it says which quarterback will star on today's on-field workouts. So the quarterbacks are going today.
Yeah, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett's just getting ready to get out there and start throwing. So I'm looking at some of the preparation as they're getting ready. But what's would you agree, Howie? That's been his forte, all O-lineman.
Well, he was tutored under the tutelage of Andy Reid. That's the first thing Andy did. First big recruit that he got was he drafted a quarterback. That's what he first got there. But then he went about solidifying that offensive line.
McNabb was his guy?
Yeah, McNabb was his guy. So then he goes out and gets him the other, bookend tackle in John Runyon to be paired up with Trey. Trey was, first round pick the year before we played with me. He was in that first rounder in that draft. And then he brings in Runyon.
Another outstanding player.
Right. So, now you have twin towers. You got the bookends. You got two guys that played 10 years together and solidified that offensive line. So Howie saw that. That's why he didn't have a problem with, drafting in the trenches. He loves to draft in the trenches. Now, Derek Barnett didn't turn out for him, and, Dillard didn't pan out for him. But I really think that, that's one of the strong suits that he has done is solidifying the defensive lines and taking chances on guys. And some of them played well, some of them didn't. But, like Tuhill, got drafted by the Eagles in like the 6th or 7th round. But now he's the guy that gets, quality reps and plays hard for the Washington football team or the Commanders now or Commanders, whatever they're called. Man.
I don't care. You know what? We had a guy, Barrett, you can always tell in an offensive lineman when an offensive lineman is not going to be good. And here was my litmus test. Man, I played against this one dude, and albeit he was in the World League, he's 6'7", and he's 355 pounds. I grabbed him. I threw him on his head, and I was like this. I threw this guy on his head, and I went, man, this guy here, man, he has no lower body strength, and he does not have balance. Same thing in the NFL. When you grab a guy and you can throw an offensive lineman, that means he has no balance, and he'll never make it if he doesn't have balance. Like people were telling me about that kid Flowers who Miami had, who was the number 1 draft choice. He sucked, man, because they said that he couldn't play with balance in his feet. Man, when you play against a really great old lineman, Man, these guys are like athletic tree stumps.
Yeah.
I mean, when you put your hands on a guy and you don't throw him and he's stout and he's got long arms and he's just as athletic and that Mo's just as strong as you, man, you better have a miner's cap on and a lunch pail because you're going to go to work all day with that one. I mean, right?
Look at Riley McKenzie. Riley McKenzie, one of the original Hogs I played with. His core and his balance was it was crazy. Like he would get swam, and the guy would swim and get their shoulder, and he'd be bent back. But his core was so strong that he could lift the guy right back up and put him right back on his body and sit down. I mean, he was also like a black belt too, like a 6th degree, 5th degree, 15th degree black belt. You know what I mean? You know, he's one of those guys that when he grabbed you, you weren't going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? He was just so strong, man. And even at the time, he was, you know, kind of old. He was like his 12th year when I played with him. He was still strong as an ox, still limber, and could still move the crowd, man.
Man, those guys, I mean, the great old lineman, like I'll tell you, the guy I struggled with, believe it or not, was Nate. Because Nate was left-handed.
Yeah.
Nate was left-handed, and he popped that thing in, and I hadn't played against a left-handed guy like that before. And he put that on, bam! You're like, damn, my whole swim thing's different. Oh, I didn't get around that. I mean, plus Nate had better feet than you thought.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Nate had some pretty good feet. All right, Barrett, you heard the comments, and you saw the comments from Howie at the Combines. What you having played and you knowing this guy, what's the game plan you think truly for this football team this offseason? I mean, what is the plan? Because that stuff that he told the media, I ain't buying that at all. I don't believe it. I didn't believe it at first. You should have seen Xander yesterday. When Xander started playing me some of this, I go, you don't believe this, do you? He's like, man, I think he's going to take – he goes, I think they're going to take a quarterback in the draft. I go, no, they're not. No, they're not. They'd rather stick with Jalen. Here's where I'm going. They'd rather stick with Jalen than draft any one of these guys in the draft because you know why? You're on a rookie contract and you get to build the rest of your team. They would be more satisfied to stick with Jalen, know that he's a stopgap guy, build the team around him, put the resources into defense, get another number 2. And if Jalen ain't it, go out in the open market when Russell Wilson's deal is up next year and bring Wilson in, make him a 5-year stopgap, drop his ass in Philadelphia or whomever. I mean, I don't think they're going to go into – why would he waste one to walk backwards again? So watch this. You're going to go from Wentz to Hurts to a rookie quarterback? You won't be relevant for that means you would not have been relevant since 17.
Yep.
5 years.
Right.
Why would he do that?
I can't see him doing it either because it just doesn't make sense. Also, you know, the big word around here, you know, in the Philadelphia area is that they're going to use all 3 picks. I doubt that seriously. I think they're going to trade back and get more picks for next year.
Get another first rounder next year.
Yep, they're going to get that. That's just what I'm thinking. So
I agree.
I think they'll use 2 this year, trade back to they'll have another pick for next year, and hopefully they go about solidifying number 1, a pass rusher. That's the number 1 need for this team right now, a pass rusher. Then after that, I really think they're going to go with a receiver.
Oh my God!
Yes. Watch what I tell you.
You don't think they're going to use a 1 on a wideout, do you?
Yes, I do.
You think he wants to right the ship because he screwed up on Jefferson?
Yes.
That's not building a team. That's covering your ass.
Well, he's the king of that. He's one of those guys. He'll tell you, I told you so. He'll tell you, I told you so in a minute. I'm going to tell you the truth. I like Howie because Howie's going to do what Howie wants to do. He doesn't care about what anybody else is saying. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and he's trying to.
That's a lot of power the owner's giving him then.
Right. So he'll fall on the sword for these guys. Like he's falling on the sword for Jalen Reagor. He's trying to play him regardless. It's a direct order going down to the coaching staff. Make sure this guy gets the rock.
That's why he starts?
Yes. Oh. That's exactly why he starts.
He would see that philosophy doesn't fly with Belichick. That's why the Patriots are a better organization.
Oh, They're not the gold standard. The
Because
Eagles,
don't you agree they make the tough cuts and the tough decisions? This guy sucks. Like that kid, N'Keal Harry, that kid at Arizona State, he's a flop. They know it. Okay? They put him in situational scenarios where they put him in a seam and they put him in a slot. So you drafted a number one wide receiver to put him in a slot so that he could be on third down and put him in a position to potentially get you a first down because you know he's a possession wideout now. He's not a guy like he was at Arizona State that they thought he was going to blow the top off of defenses. And they know it. So what they do is, at least what they're trying to get out of him is, they're putting him in scenarios where he can at least succeed. Okay? But you can't have a number one draft choice in that position where you put a guy in there like that and you keep him on the roster and you start him. They're not starting that guy.
well, they're starting.
And that's why I think they're going to look for a wideout in the draft.
Yep, I think so also. That's why at this point they kept, J-Jaw, I think of Whiteside. They are forcing him to be in the lineup. Like
Is
he's
he a better blocker?
Well, that's what he is. He's a blocker. That's every first thing they say. You see J-Jaw out there? You see the way he was blocking? I don't want to see him blocking. It's cool you're blocking. I love that you're blocking, but I also want to see you catch passes. You get paid to catch passes, not block.
But dude, but wait a minute. Let me push back on you a little bit here. But isn't that the style of offense they're building where they're running the ball? You can't have snowflakes out there on the perimeter. You've got to have guys that resemble the guys in Tennessee a little bit, Barrett, where, hey, I get it. You're right. When you give up that kind of money and that kind of positioning in a draft, bro, you can't just be, when you're a second or third rounder or first rounder, those are premium picks. You can't just be a dude that's one-dimensional. You've got to have a game. And the only game is to run the ball. Well, how about this? I would come back at you and go like this. Well, we were number one in rushing, and that's what they want us to do. They want us blocking down the field. I mean, I didn't see any wide receivers on this football team have exceptional years, including the guy that they went out and got who's the former Heisman Trophy winner. So to me, I'm being asked what they're asking me to do, be proficient in the run game. Well, quite frankly, we were number one in running. We were the number one running attack in the NFL. How didn't I do my job, what you're asking me to do? Because, again, it could be a fundamental flaw how they're building the team on what you and I are saying. Those wideouts have to make plays. They have to get situationally open. But it's almost like they don't have an identity. They want to run the ball, but they want to throw the ball, but their wide receivers don't block.
Yep. That's it in a nutshell. So because that's the way the situation is, it's not working for them because you're asking a guy to go out there and not have any offensive output, which is handicapping your offense because now you can't throw to him. So it's making you be one-dimensional. You got to take your chances. I got an offensive line that'll block. Okay, you get to the second level, you get 8 yards instead of a whole run play with the running back. But you need wide receivers out there that can catch. I'll do without it. As long as my offensive line gets me to the second level, I'll live with all that. I don't need a blocking wide receiver. I don't need it. What I do need is a receiver that can catch the ball on third down, a receiver that can catch the ball on second down. We don't have that. And that's a problem because you can't run the offense with that. If you got stone hands out there, but he's stone handing safeties and blocking linebackers, that's all cool and dandy. It looks good, as far as on tape when you're sitting in a meeting room with the team. But that's not what sells tickets. That's not what wins games. What wins games is guys going out there and with production and making first downs, keeping the chains moving. Give me that.
See,
let my offensive line do it.
That's a tough sell to tell a player selling tickets. I don't care about selling tickets.
Right.
I mean, I get, but see, they're trying to. When you look at Tennessee, you know what they're doing. When you're looking at Indianapolis, you know what they're doing. Actually, San Francisco,
yep.
You know what they're doing. This is why I think when you look at third down situations with this Eagle offense, it's exactly what you say, Barrett. They don't have the talent. When you're 3rd and 8, it's got to be one of the worst defenses in the worst offenses in the NFL for 3rd and 8 because they're not set up for production, and that's why you can't have 3 and outs.
Yep.
That's why you've got to be more proficient. With this style of offense, the Eagles have to be productive on 1st and 2nd down. That's why when they get out there and they get that situational play calling going and it's backwards like they did in that Giants game, when they went up there and they just fell all over themselves, bro, you can't throw the ball like that on 1st and 2nd down. You're going to have 3rd and 8 or you're going to have 3 and outs. Okay? Stick with who you are because when you get in 3rd and 8, Barrett, they don't have the skill set, guys, including the signal caller, to throw you out of trouble. Yep. So you've got to be proficient on those first 2 downs. That's why I thought Sirianni at times, I didn't know what he was doing because he wasn't falling in line with what that team is being built around because I think it's the confusion of what you're saying. They want to throw the ball down the field and they want to throw the ball 45 times. And I think that comes down to Sirianni being told, like you said, hey, we got Rager out here. We got these up. We got Devontae. We drafted a number 1 pick. It's almost like it seems that to me at times during the game that they're pressured to throw the football when that's not who they are. That's why they fall behind the sticks at times, and that's why you see a lot of 3rd and 8s. And when you're in 3rd and 8 as an offense, defense has got the advantage.
Well, that's absolutely got the advantage, and it's the mere fact that Sirianni was able to change and the team allowed him to change. The people upstairs allowed him to change. Lets me know that they give Sirianni a little more leeway than they gave Doug as far as decision-making on which way this team is going. That's number 1. Number 2, the owner and everybody wants to throw the ball. They want pocket passers. That's why I don't think Jalen really fits in what the owner really wants. But they're winning, and he'll take the winning. But watch, when things start looking a little hairy, they're going to go back to wanting to throw the ball. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a situation where if you can't throw the ball, it's going to be hard pressed for them to do anything other than that. I'm telling you, they'll stop running the ball. They're going to start throwing the ball unconsciously in just a little while. Watch what I tell you.
Do you think the players in the locker room believe that ownership and the GM believe in Jalen Hurts? Or do you think they like him? Because you don't have the same situation that you had with Carson splitting the locker room here. But you have a different scenario on splitting the locker room because you and I, we're trying to tell people there's certain guys in the locker room you can't bullshit. There's certain guys who don't care. There's certain guys who get a paycheck are going to go out and give you 100% no matter what, no matter who's behind the center. I'm going to go out. I get worried about my little sandbox.
Yep.
And I'm going to go out there and play my ass off no matter who it is, no matter what they're thinking. There's some guys there's all these little cliques that are in that locker room. You think that locker room looks at Jalen Hurts and goes, I can win a Super Bowl with him?
Honestly, I don't think so. I don't.
But what saves it, they like him.
Yes. They respect him.
And they like his journey.
Yep. They like his tenacity. They like his leadership. They're on board with Jalen Hurts, the man. You know what I'm saying? They love that aspect of him. But as far as them winning a Super Bowl with Jalen, I'd be hard pressed to say that they can't. They will say this. I think we can win a Super Bowl in the offense in which we ran this year with running the ball the way we ran it and him being a guy who could execute it and get him out of hairy situations. His biggest intangible, I think, is his ability at the end of games to make things happen when there's nothing else happening. And they believe in that aspect of his game. So they believe in the offense being able to get him out of hairy situations, but I don't think they believe in, necessarily that he can throw them out of situations.
Here, if you're going to build a team around your O-line, and that's looking like to me, now that I'm watching on how Howie has a real good eye, I think, for offensive linemen. This is what I want my team to look like. I want my team to look like San Francisco and what Kyle Shanahan's doing. The difference between what San Francisco does in running the ball and what Philadelphia does, the quarterback has no part of the running game.
Yep.
He is not part of it. That's a scarier group than the Eagle group. They could be what the 49ers are. But to me, Barrett, When my guy is not running the ball and I'm moving dudes off the line of scrimmage and I'm blowing people up, San Francisco is a more intimidating and a more physical football team than what Philadelphia is. And I say this because my quarterback doesn't get banged up running. He's not part of the running game. You got Samuel, who he throws to. They're proficient on third down. That's why you see San Francisco majority of the time in 3rd and 2. Because the quarterback's not relied on to create movement in the sticks and to get first downs. See, Jalen is counted on, 900 and some odd yards that he ran for. That's why I don't care about that coming from my quarterback. It sounds great on a stat sheet and for Madden, 10 touchdowns, this and that. But I am not going to win. My quarterback's going to get banged up. Hell, I'll even throw this into the conversation here with this. If you're the Ravens and you saw the way the second half of the season ended up for Lamar Jackson, and he is now the superstar guy that has that style of running, am I going to really give that guy a 5-year contract extension knowing he's going to run the ball 145 times? He's going to get hit just being the quarterback and hits on the quarterback and sacks itself. I know that time's coming. Am I going to put $45 million on this guy's back? To me, I'm going like this with Lamar. I'm giving him a 3-year contract. I'm not giving him a Dak Prescott deal because I just don't believe in that style. Eventually, you've got to start protecting him. Get him a back. They were really efficient when they had Mark Ingram back there and they were running the ball, and it took a little heat off him and it gave him more space. The thing with Jalen here is Jalen's being asked to do a lot. Would we not say this? Jalen Hurts was probably 85% of the offense.
Yep,
this past year.
85%, and he's and
Garoppolo's 50% in San Fran.
And deservedly so, because that's a major weapon that defenses can't account for. It's hard for defenses to, once you got Jalen into the offense that they ran the last, 7-8 games, it's hard for defenses to defend him. Because
but isn't the war of attrition end up getting you that doesn't that get you in the end? Because hey, Barrett, when I tell young kids, hey, it ain't the fact. Well, it is. It's a more physically intimidating and it's more technically sound game. But the war of attrition, you add an extra game, you're doing that style. That's got to take a toll on a guy. Yeah,
it's going to take a toll on him. But, he's also built differently than most quarterbacks. He's built like a running back. He has that frame that could probably take a little more punishment. Doesn't necessarily mean that you want him to take that punishment. But at the end of the day, I think that's what he's well suited to do. Now, Jalen, I think that he'll have a whole new mindset, not to the extent of what, 5 did. McNabb, he got to his 3rd year and he wanted to be his sole purpose was being a pocket passer. It was hard pressed to make him leave the pocket like his 3rd and 4th year, because he wanted to show everybody, I can read defenses, I can sit from the pocket, I can execute the offense from the pocket.
And he don't want to get hit like Cam.
Right. But then he eventually said, you know what? If I want to be, the best player in the league, and I want to, I want them to consider my name and put my name in a conversation of being MVP, I got to bring all my intangibles, to the forefront. So he did start to run a little more situational football. He started doing little things. And I think Hurts is going to try to do the same thing, not to the detriment of the game, but he's going to try to be more of a pocket pass. He go through a 2nd or 3rd read. He's going to get with the guru and get him in a position where he can read things better and go out there and run the offense more efficiently from the pocket. He started traces of that the last, 4 games where his ankle was hurting him, and he started executing the offense from the pocket as opposed to running. He had to, because his body wouldn't let him. That ankle just wouldn't allow him to go out there and make the cuts that he was making before that. So he has the ability to do it. Now, doing that consistently, we'll see after this offseason. I think that he's going to be a better player than he was, way better player than he was, and we might be changing our narrative next year when we go forward. He might become the guy that what they see in him and what I eventually see in him. I think he will change the corner. He will be more than just a a guy that runs around. He'll be more than just a Mike Vick-esque type of player. I think he's
What do
going
you
to be.
think they see in him? What do you think they see in him?
They see a leader of this team. Everybody loves him. Everybody's on board with him. They see that. They see in practice what he can do. Now he has to bring what he does in practice and bring it onto the bring it to game type situations. But I saw him start to read. He got from this, second and third reads, the second half of the season. Well, the last 4 games of the season, because he had to. It was necessary that he, ran the offense in that capacity. It wasn't like he could go out there and run and cut like he did before because that ankle was bothering him. That's why he got surgery on it. So he does, he does understand his body, he can lose the war of attrition if he goes out there and plays the way he played. So I think he will, progress, have some progress and become that player that I eventually see him being. I like the fact that they're going to take a chance with him. What I
think it's more of a gamble going into the second year than it actually was putting him into the starting lineup this year, because now what you're doing is, with all the assets you have in money, what you're saying. And by the way, with what is out there in free agency and what is out there in potential capital you would have to give up, it's really a tough conversation what you're going to do. Do you stick with what you have that's working? You see, changing off of what you're working, right, Barrett?
Yep.
That to me, and like I said, I think people go like this. Well, Sileo just wants Jalen out here because that's not what I'm saying here. If I'm going to change my quarterback and go to another quarterback, a third dude in 3 years, he has to be elite. He can't be a rookie. He can't be Sam Darnold.
Well, Dan, look at this. Look at this. Right now, there are 2 teams going through the same exact conversation. Not necessarily about, Hurts and going forward, but will this team who's based their offense around these 2 guys be worth the contract that they're asking for right now? And that's Murray, and that's what's his name with the Ravens?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. So that's Jackson and Murray. Their teams are going through the same conversation right now. What are we going to do? Are we going to invest all this money in a guy, or are we going to go in a different direction? They're up against it right now, man. So, the time is near. You see Murray starting to squawk right now that he wants a new contract. We'll see. But I will say this. The gun that Murray has and his abilities make him an elite player. But he doesn't have the intangibles that Jalen Hurts has.
Let me tell you what turns me off with him. You making business decisions in the postseason games.
Oh yeah, you said you,
bro. That
irritates you, right?
You got 52 dudes that are in that locker room, and you got guys in your huddle, and you're making business decisions in a playoff game. He looked terrible in that game because he refused to run.
Yep.
And I don't know if that was designed by him. Coaches and people are saying it was by his choice, that he didn't, because he got hurt and he just went like this. Well, I'm going to make a business decision here and I'm not going to get hit. Damn, Barrett, that's not the kind of guy I want with a game that's on the line. You got all that offseason to get yourself healthy and go through any kind of surgery if you need it. Man, when you play a game like that, you were talking about playoffs, when we opened the show. Man, nobody's coming out, man. You're gonna have to lose a leg. Ronnie Lott cut a finger off in a playoff game in the locker room. Man, these dudes are psychotic. I've seen crazy shit before. People do. I ain't coming out. You ain't pull me out. Pull me out of my dead body,
bro.
And this guy's making business decisions. That's a character flaw in my issue.
And that's one of the big things that when you look at Murray and the Cardinals organization, they got to sit down and have a long conversation with him about that. How do they go forward? How can we make you more of a leadership type of guy in our locker room? How do we give you that ability to win your teammates over? Because at this point, those guys don't believe in him. I can kind of tell they don't believe. I can tell they don't believe in him because you don't hear anything from the players. You don't hear any rumbling from the players. You haven't heard anything in his corner from the players. Now, we've heard from Jalen Hurts, guys in Jalen Hurts' corner. We hear people, you know, in Lamar Jackson's camp and the players, they like being around and playing for him. When a team doesn't want to play for you or they don't mind, you know, not playing for you, then you got a problem, man.
Can I tell you one last thing before we go to break here? Let me say this to you, dude. This is why I have a little bit of a problem with Howie and why I think he may be a little shady. Now, all GMs are shady.
Right.
But Nate Sudfeld, and I'm going to tell you this, when I'm sitting there on the bench and you're sitting healthy dudes and you're making a business decision where maybe I have an incentive that I have to make for the final game that would put me over a percentage of whatever plays or what have you, and all of a sudden you're taking Jalen Hurts out and you're putting a dude that shouldn't even be on the ball team. I don't even know if he's in the league right now. And you're doing stuff like that, and you're basically throwing a game, man. I'd be like this, man. I'm in this thing to win every single time I step on the field. I hate losing. I'm a horrible loser too, by the way.
Right.
I'm a horrible loser, man. I'm not a handshaker. Guy just kicked my ass. I'm not shaking that motherfucker. I'm not doing any of that, man. I'm not. That's not.
You taking it to the locker room, bro?
Yo, man. Unless we're boys, you know, man. Unless we're boys like Ron Salt or Glover and them dudes, I'm gonna go. Hey, man. Yeah, kick your ass. Shut up, dude. I get it, man. It'd be like that, Ray Donaldson. Unless I know you, man, I'm not doing that, man. I mean, that. Don't you think, man, those guys have to have that because we have total recall as players? Don't you think that? I mean, that was a red flag for me with him.
Bro, you just can't do it, man, because those players looked at it like, yo, here I'm giving my all, and you can't give your all for me. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is, man. I'm giving my all for you. I'm giving every ounce of what I have for you on that field, and you can't do it for me. That's why it was a big problem with Ricky on the for who for what thing. When he had alligator arms, in the Tampa game, his first game with the city also, he said for who, for what? From that point on, Ricky Waters really never became a Philly guy because of that. He wasn't welcomed like everybody else because of that for who, for what? Because they believe here that you give your all and they'll give you the world. They will give you the world if you give your all. And they really believe that he didn't do it. Now, from that point on, you never had to ask Ricky or had a problem with him going. He went full speed. He played hard all the time. But that for who, for what, soured a lot of people here in Philadelphia.
All right, let's take a timeout. I got a couple names I want to throw at you. Get your responses because they're pretty interesting dudes, but I don't think they're going to go over with what the fans are looking at. Maybe they will. Also, they are starting to throw now at the NFL Combines. I want to get your thoughts on what your experience was when you went to the Combines. He is Barrett Brooks. I'm Dan Sileo in for Harry Mays. Back in 3 minutes. Keep it here on The Middle.